Okay, this season is really hurting my heart. Really hurting my heart. So, everybody is dealing with soap opera level drama. And yeah, I just hate it. Let's get the quick one out of the way, and that's Sarah. Sarah's mother and soon to be stepfather um, come to visit before they go on a trip. And apparently, Sarah does not like Gary. Now, we don't know why. I mean, she did mention, I think I'm crooked here. No, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, um, so she, I guess she just, you know, she seems to not like him, I would assume, because he's trying to replace her father, which, that would make sense. But no, it's because her mom, when she met Gary, in Sarah's mind, is that, she just shut down emotionally. She doesn't know how they met. She just found out, okay, we're getting a divorce, and oh, by the way, I'm seeing this new guy, Gary. And the pieces are starting to be put together. I mean, it sounds like her mom just admitted that she was having an affair, and that's what led to the divorce. So, because she finally admits to Sarah that she met Gary before the divorce from her father. Now, granted, she didn't say, if that was the cause of the divorce or if she met him in the process, but it's implied that that was probably what led to the divorce. Now, I seem to like Gary. Yeah, he's jovial and all that, and he's a bit too friendly, but he seems like a decent guy. I mean, he even asked Sarah permission to marry her mother, which I thought was so sweet. And then Sarah's like, and Gary's face was so crestfallen when she was like, let me think about it. She was so crestfallen about it. He was so crestfallen, and I felt so bad for him because, they seem to really like each other. They seem to have fun together, and then Sarah's the wet blanket. So I felt sorry for him this episode. Especially now, and I don't know how Sarah's going to be able to process the admission that her mother was basically having an affair before she divorced her father. And like her mother said, Sarah was away in college. So, of course, she's not going to know the ins and outs. Anyway, to the main event, which is simultaneously the case, which Julian helps with. This is sort of resume building because, basically he's just sticking around in his father's eyes. He's just sticking around till he can find another job. So, and I felt so bad for Julian because he is a great detective. He's a great lawyer. And Olympia just totally gaslit him. Well, also Maddie, but Olympia was out and out lying to him as well. And then she has the gall to say to Maddie, I don't think I could ever, that our relationship could ever go back to friendship. What is Julian going to do exactly when he finds out that you gaslit him? That he was 100% correct on all of his hunches, and you and Maddie made him look like he was absolutely insane. You know this is going to come back to bite Olympia in the butt. Now, the question is only, how Olympia and or Maddie rectify this, because Julian's going to be hella pissed. Now, this episode did not go the way I expected. I'm not talking about Julian, even though, like I said, it hurt my heart how right on the money he was about everything. And the girls had to go through all these hoops to prove him wrong. So, yeah. But what I thought they were going to do to help Maddie overcome this obsessive hatred of Julian, is that when Daniel pointed out that his foster father was abusing him, that it would come out from Julian how his father treated him. Basically giving Maddie more understanding about Julian, that Julian is not the monster she thinks he is. Because obviously that's why they're not looping him in. I'm sure Olympia would love to, but Maddie is still convinced that Julian is a horrible person. And, so yeah, I thought that they were going to, because the cases tend to parallel, that they say catchphrases and other things that kind of make either Olympia or more likely Maddie reflect on what she's doing. I really, really thought that they were going to do that angle to get Maddie to loosen up on Julian and realize that Julian is not what she thinks he is. Like at the strip club, she said that, you had it so good. You had this, cushy upbringing. And Julian started to explain that things weren't as great as she thinks, but then were cut off because, they were talking to one of the strippers who blamed Daniel for what happened to her, and another stripper was like, "What are you on? He only attacked you because of the way you were acting." So between that and Olympia, they realized that the timeline didn't match up. So they were able to show that Daniel was in jail for a crime he did not commit. It was no longer a matter of lessening his sentence as it was he didn't do it. But yeah, I really was hoping that they would go to the angle with Julian, but no, they didn't do that. And they, like I said, they started to by Julian pointing out that he didn't have the cushy upbringing that she thinks he had. And I really hope that they bring that out more, so Maddie understands that Julian is not his father. He is not... his father, when Julian brings up the Well-Brexit study, he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And they're really making you want to hate him. I was already hating him after the first season, but they're really doubling down. They really want you to hate Senior. And you're meant to feel bad for Julian. And I do feel bad for him because his father doesn't give a crap. He doesn't care that, people died because they buried that study. As long as he gets the win, he doesn't give a fuck who he hurts. So, so it turns out that, like I said, Daniel was in jail for a crime he didn't commit because the police convinced him that he would get a lesser sentence if he confessed. Which, what was the lesser sentence? I mean, he's still alive? He got life in prison. How is that a lesser sentence? Or the police were just, blowing smoke up Daniel's ass about the lesser sentence because he's just a black foster kid, not like he's worth anything. Wouldn't put it past them at all. Anyway, so Julian was the one who helped get the case moving along, talking about this neuropsychologist. He was able to, he figured out that there was something up with Maddie and Emmeline. He noticed that the computer was hot when he got to it. I mean, this is a very smart man. He's being jerked around by his father by, what breakfast study. Which, I mean, if Julian was the horrible person that Maddie thinks he is, he would just laugh and agree. But you could see the look of horror on his face that his father is pretending that this whole thing never existed. Which should tell him, because I don't know if he agrees that Emmeline was spreading lies, or he was just telling that to his father because that's what his father thinks happened. But I think he's going to more and more turn and try to help, more actively help them. How, I do not know. But he has shown that he has the chops. And it's just convincing Maddie and Edwin that he's not the monster they think he is. Hell, Edwin doesn't like Olympia, but at least Olympia accepts Edwin's disdain because, well, she left him on the side of the road with 3 Twizzlers. So it's not like he doesn't have a reason to dislike her. Like she took a sip of coffee only to find out that it's cold. So she respects Edwin for, standing up for himself. She respected that. She does not respect Maddie. And Maddie even explained why she had to lie all her life. This happened and that happened. And so yeah, but this season, if they do not take down Senior, which, God, I hope they do. I hope they don't drag this up a 3rd season. But if they do not, if they drag it out another season to try to take down Senior, whether next season's going to be actively suing him or what, Julian is going to be firmly on Team Ellie. I'm not going to call it Team Maddie or Team Olympia because the whole reason, the whole impetus for this is Ellie. Now, and I think everybody, Maddie wants Olympia's friendship again, and Olympia's like, we're not friends. Not after everything you've done to me. And I think it's going to be the same way with Julian. that he's going to find out all the shit they pulled, and he's going to help them out simply because he wants to take down his father. But his relationship, well, he didn't have much of a relationship with Maddie to begin with, so there's no big loss there. But his relationship with Olympia could be irreparably damaged. Now, what I would like to see happen is that Maddie goes from old curmudgeon who has the singular goal of avenging Ellie by taking down the people who hid the study that could have saved her, or at least kept her from taking that particular opiate, to kind of Pollyanna-ish, trying to get Olympia and Julian back together. Now, whether she'll succeed or whether she'll just make a mess of things and Olympia and Julian will come together of their own accord, or the third season, if there is a third season, will no longer be about the inner workings of Jacobson Moore, but it's going to turn into Olympia and Julian versus Maddie and Edwin. Or it could turn into, we move from the inner workings of Jacobson Moore to what's happening with Alfie and his father and whatever legal drama is happening there. So, yeah, we're not even halfway through this season. I'm already thinking of what the next storyline is going to be. Because, like I said, this hurts my heart so much. Because I want Olympia and Maddie to be friends. I want them to tell Julian what the frick is going on, so he won't feel like he's an absolute know-nothing when it comes to his job, when in reality he did a great job. He was totally 100% correct. And it wasn't just that Maddie gaslit him. Olympia did. And so, yeah, when Julian finds out, he's just going to be so fed up that everybody he gets close to just screws him over. So, yeah, I feel horrible for Julian. Let's see. What else is there? I believe I covered everything I wanted to this episode. So with that, I will see you guys in the next video.